Hello guys, it's Peter from PS Sound, and this video is going to show you probably simply a system we have built in the last many years. It will have introduction and then we will show many tricks and tips during the installation. Originally I thought that I would have an introduction video, so you will see that will be cut off and then we will just carry on showing the build. And you would think that, oh, it's such a simple build, there's nothing interesting in it. Well, I'm telling you that we had probably the worst rattle in any car ever. So if for nothing else, it is worth to watch this video just for that. And I'm interested if any of you have had C7 Audi A6s, so anything between 2012 and 17, I think that era, from Audi A6 saloon or sedan, whatever you call it. I'm interested if you had any issue like this. We had a major surprise at the end. So it's just a simple build, still a lot to see, many great tips in it. I'm interested what you think about the issue, what we found at the end. And yeah, enjoy it. Sorry for not delivering much lately in the last few weeks, but we were flat out. We were in from one build into another. We had long days. We were even working during the weekends. Then we had Easter. We had to take a bit of time off as well. And there's just not enough hours to edit videos. So now I'm putting this together for you so you can see this simple build we had last week. But if you want to see what we did in the Volkswagen Amarok, the crazy SQL build we started, and we have quite a few videos of where we had the dual 6.5s in the kicks in true IB, dash build and whatnot. That came back for another session where we now fitted 218s in IB in the back wall of the pickup. If you want to see pictures of that build, then please go to the description and then you can click on the Facebook link. Then on the Facebook page you can see all the pictures. Even if you don't have Facebook, you can still open it and you can see the pictures. It's gonna take time till I can edit all the footage of that build because we have a lot of footage from that. That's gonna be exciting, but we have time lapses, videos from different devices, so that's gonna take time till I can sit down and do that. And I will also hopefully introduce another car to you this week that you've seen before with a great theme. I had to tune that car this last Saturday. There's a short footage coming of that this week as well. There's plenty to see. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, please. Also, check out description and the link for Patreon, because there's loads there. There's a lot to learn from there. If you want to go deeper in sound quality, and if you want to see a lot of behind the scene content, RT evaluations, weekly topics which are quite educational, then please check that out. It's worth to subscribe to that. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. You don't have to stay with us and support us, but if you do, then we appreciate that. Then that helps us to move forward and hopefully edit more videos and share more with you in the future. So enjoy this video, guys, and definitely let me know what you think about this Rattle. Comment down below in the video. So let's see what we did in this car. Many people always say that, oh, we fear to give a call to Pete because you always do crazy stuff, guys, over there. And this is the opposite. This is the opposite. What's that? Handprint. That's nice. Yeah. Hopefully that's not burnt into the lacquer. So we have a very simple, we could say a low-end build, right? Because people say we only do high-end build, which is not true. We just like to build fully active systems, run, you know, at least 3-way up front or 2-way with wideband, run it through DSP, and do everything properly. And by then, people look at it and they think, oh, this is just way too expensive. Now, maybe this time we talk a little bit about budgeting as well for systems. Even if I had a video for that, how much a proper system costs, I think, when I was sitting in the Honda talking about it. But that was about the really expensive stuff. Yeah. So now we approach a system in this Audi A6, what is it, 2016, 17. We had the estate of this a few months ago. We had a little bit more complex system in that, but this is going to be very, very simple. So we are using these bits. A Helix M6 Dsp. This is a 10-channel DSP with 6-channel amplifier. So you can still have 4 RCAs going out to additional amplifiers if you want to expand the system. But now this 6-channel is going to run the whole system. So 2-channel is going to run the front end, which is going to be passive. When was the last time we did passive? Never.
Only
for rear fuel, not for front end. I don't think. Oh yeah, for like my brother-in-law probably.
That was pretty much it. Head unit in a two-way system, passive for him. So we are going to run the front end from this Steg two-way component kit. This is not mega money. People can find this on our web shop. They always ask for product list in description in the videos. Yeah, maybe I should do it. But quite often I feel that it backfires, because when we build something like the BMW 6 GT, many people know that build and they look at the equipment. Pete, can you make a list? Even if I explain in the video, they don't know what we use. They can't understand it or whatever. And they think that the results we get is down to the equipment, which is not really the case. But we go through it. So two-way front, passive, only 2 channels, but at least we have a DSP behind it, so we can do EQing, we can set levels, time alignments, things like that. But obviously we can't set time alignment between the mid bass and the tweeter, because that runs through the crossover, and the crossover makes sure that the tweeters are not going to play bass and those are not going to play highs. Simple as that. The rear fill is factory. We're keeping the rear fill factory. The owner wanted to keep the budget lower. And then we have a subwoofer. We have this JL12W3 4-ohm driver that's going to be bridged on the last 2 channels of that. And the sub install is going to be, yeah, we could have built a box in here, but the owner wanted to keep it more practical. Funnily, when he turned up yesterday, he asked me if we could put the sub there, because there's a lot of space in there. There you go. If I can take it out, there you are, Abby. That's your job. It popped out so easily yesterday.
Yeah, it has to the sides.
So there's a lot of space in there. That cavity has like 10-12 inches here and there. But when I talked to him, you know, we have this car here for 3 days for the full installation and tuning and everything. Building a custom fiberglass enclosure over there, cutting out all that trim and then fiberglassing, building a box, that's several days for one of us, and that's definitely not within the budget, because that's very labor intensive and time is money. So what we are doing base-wise in this car, instead of a box, we will actually have trunk IB. Because now at least people can see that there are many cars that come from factory with a solution like this. This Audi has a, I think that's a 10-inch. Yes. Tape measure. Let's put the tape measure up. That's probably, it's larger than an 8. We will see in a second. So that's hanging on the shelf, and it's using the airspace of the trunk to play bass. Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, it's roughly 10.
It's roughly 10. Yeah. So we are going to use that existing hole for our 12-inch sub to pump the bass into the cabin. We will have to dead on the shelf, put a board up, apply plywood board up there, and mount the subwoofer onto that board. Yes, this is flat and shallow, so this doesn't take up much space from the boot, whereas that JL sub is going to hang down, but the owner is still happier with that than...
Unless we put it with the magnet in the cabin, you know, so we can see it in the mirror.
Take out the windscreen as well, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to hang down. Yo. If you can lift it, just roughly put it there. Yeah, it's going to hang down a fair amount. But to the time it's finished, you can still push a suitcase underneath it, and I will try to shift that sub as far out to the side as possible, and it will still breathe through that factory opening, so we don't have to cut anything in the car. We just have to mount that board up onto that shelf somehow to make the shelf sturdier. Yeah, I could spend 4 days building this, and I can spend 1 day building it, because for daily it has to be simple.
And that's it.
Oh yeah, or just self-tappers straight onto the shelf.
Like we used to do with the 6x9s.
Exactly.
Back in the day. Yeah.
Exactly. Cut a hole in the parcel shaft, drop them in.
Yeah.
And they played low, and then people were like, "Wow, you have so much bass in your car."
Yeah.
6x9s are equal to 8-inch drivers.
Yeah.
And they were playing pretty low. Even this one plays nice and low, even with that tiny neo magnet. But it's large cone area, so they maximize cone area. They have a more efficient driver to play the bass. than just the 6.5s in the doors. It's an okay system. This is the base system from Audi. It's not the Bose setup. The owner mentioned that maybe in the future he would upgrade and go fully active at the front, and we have the capability for that because that DSP, as I mentioned, is 10 channel. So we can add extra amplifier and then we can have the full Monty. We will see, but for starting, you know, it's just simple. We will fit this kit, soundproof the doors, install the sub, fit the DSP amp in the spare wheel well, underneath the spare wheel somewhere, because the battery is there at least. We don't have to track power cable from the front, that not many people like doing. One thing I want to show though, people always freak out when I mention that using factory upgrade plug and play speakers is not a bad idea, especially for a system on this scale. Because, for example, Steg, some of you might have seen that lately in the last half year we have used a fair amount of Steg speakers and whatnot. It's because they have great value and they are really well thought out, especially for factory upgrades. We did the M6 with Steg speakers, plug and play, and it was awesome. They have plug and play for Mercedes as well, for Volkswagen, Audi, and for Tesla. Plug and play. They even have a subwoofer box for Tesla, lightweight, whatnot, goes to the factory space behind the panels. It's crazy. So for Audi as well, they have factory upgrade tweeters and mid bass as well. I only brought the tweeters to show it to you. So for different models, they have different brackets, and I think this is for Audis where they have the tweeter on the pillar, so you can pop it right behind the factory A-pillar grill, and then it's nice and simple. For this A6, this is the one that goes plug and play. It's a larger 32mm tweeter, aluminium bracket, is it? It feels like. And even comes with the capacitor on it, so plug and play with factory plugs. And it makes life so much easier because you don't have to faff. Installation is that quick. But funnily, this is not a cheap kit. So when you look at that two-way, which is like 309 for the set, but it takes a bit longer to install, then the installation time adds up. This is more expensive, especially with the mid bass, because they have 6.5 and 8-inch mid bass as well, which is plug and play. So you can imagine it takes probably like half an hour to fit the speakers, as opposed to making custom rings, mounting the mid bass and whatnot, and making a bracket for the tweeter. So that's where you actually gain, where you don't have to spend on installation time. And these are not shit. Just because these are plug and play, factory fitment, it doesn't mean that they are shit. The components inside are just as great, actually, probably better than in the two-way set. But, you know, this with the mid bass is almost double as much cost-wise. So yeah, I try to offer this option, but then of course when people see the first price of an equipment, then that's how they scale up, you know, the overall budget, and then they may think they don't have money for that. And that's another one for, I don't even know what type of Audi, but that's a different bracket again. Yeah, they don't look anything fancy, but for a factory upgrade you don't need anything fancy. You can still have great sound. So yes, what people have to think about is equipment, obviously, and that's easy to add up. That takes a couple of minutes to have a chat with me. I can tell them what would be the best within their budget, and then people can drop it in the basket on the web shop. They can see where they are at. Then they have to think about the installation cost. That has two parts. It has labor and it has equipment cost on the material cost. For example, deadening, soundproofing, power cable, fuse holders, wood, all the accessibles and stuff, and that adds up too, especially these days. Plywood is not cheap anymore.
Come to the roof.
Yep. So that's an extra cost. Labor differs at many different places. In UK, US, or in India, those prices are different. So you have to chat with the shop what they charge, and that's how a system is put together. But roughly a system like this is roughly around 2.5K here in UK, nice and simple. But if you want fully active DSP, custom box, custom speaker installation, A-pillars, things like that, then yeah, you can easily double the budget, and then it only goes up north from there. So someone who dreams about custom A-pillars, custom sub box, more amplifiers, potentially panels in the boot, then yeah, it's 5-6K upwards, just saying something roughly. So people have to keep that in mind. Car audio is not what it used to be, when you could have just a singled in slot in the dash, put a head unit in, hook up 4 speakers, a subwoofer, and then off you go. Well, I mean, yeah, there's that, and many shops do that, but we don't, because we know what we can expect from the level of installation and systems we build with the equipment we use. So probably this is the first stage with any car we do, no matter what speaker we install. If it has to be in the door, that I love, many people know, you need full treatment. You need to deaden the outer skin, the inner skin, and everything. Like inside, Nick went pretty far all the way up, and at least in this car the access is pretty good and relatively easy. So it's deadened with this 3mm Steg. It doesn't matter what you use, silent code, STP, you name it, or whatever part you are at of the bird. Just deaden the thing, because there are many things that can rattle and come alive. So it always helps. Also, we have these little plastic things which seal the inner skin. It's good to make them dead. Same way, this is technically the buffle for the driver. So now this was deadened both sides with this stuff, and yeah, it made a huge difference, because that's what the driver is going to be mounted on. Well, partially it mounts onto the inner skin there, but then the rest is this plastic thing, because these Audis can come with the enclosures with the boxes, and yeah, they go into the inside of the door till the glass. They have like a 4 or 5 liter tiny little ported enclosure for 5.25 inch mid base drivers, but then this one came with the 8-inch driver that now we are doing spacer rings for the 6.5 inch. We could technically have 8 inches in a freeway. I would definitely go with an 8-inch, but in two-way it is better to have the 6.5, which gives plenty of base, and then the mid-range is going to be better with the 6.5 than with most 8-inch drivers. Same with the door card, that was also deadened. You can't see much of it because now we have this absorber thing from Steg, like 3M Thinsulate kind of thing. It's self-adhesive bagged as well, so it's easy to apply. And then this stubs buzzes and rattles, so the hard surface doesn't touch any hard surfaces on the inner skin. So that's pretty much stage 1 with any door build, and we will do the same on the rear doors, well, on all the doors. And then what's happening back here? Eddie's pulling many wires. Eddie, what are you pulling here?
My hair.
Your hair. Well, you have hair. You just said it the other day in a video that you don't pull your hair because otherwise you wouldn't have hair.
Yeah.
So we have
Signal.
signal, because we will have to integrate from the factory head unit.
Another one of those 8-core that is going back to the head unit for
Speaker
doors.
integration. Yep.
Yeah. So that's gonna be for the speakers from mid bass and rear doors. And here I have the detail that is gonna go in the dash, and maybe a future mid-range.
Yeah, because the owner mentioned that he would want to upgrade later on, so we prepare the cables for fully active three-way, and then that way this system is future-proof. Yeah.
So the crossovers will be at the back next to the amp.
Yeah,
Not
so it's going to be easy to take it out.
Dash or doors or
anything like that. Yeah, now we can see that there's a lot of space in the cavity over there. Yeah, with hard work you could have a fiberglass enclosure there for a 10-inch, maybe. Big space on both sides, and most of it is lost because the side trims don't really allow much room for this space. But yeah, you have 12-inch going all the way out. But at least you can see that these cars are pretty well insulated. That's why they are so much quieter. That foam has mesolded vinyl underneath, and it fully covers the wheel arch. The other outer skin also has some absorber, but we will put a bit of deadening behind it too. That's how these saloons are so much quieter. yeah, how could you make that any better? I mean, you can put extra deadening underneath that, but that fully covers the whole wheel arch. And this is not on low profile tires either, so. All right, so let's crack on. So now we have the rings for the drivers. Ringsy. Made of birch ply, large chamfer at the back so the driver can breathe better. It restricts the airflow less and it results in way cleaner sound, especially in the mid-range. So it's definitely worth doing every single time. This was copied from the factory driver, so it goes back to factory points with machine bolts. And then we have machined inserts, just like that. There's no wood screws, none of that bollocks. And this baby, I don't even think I can do that with one hand. Is that exact? Here we go. Just like that. It's a bit lower than the ring because we will have a gasket underneath the driver and then it will come up flush. Whoa, no, I can't hold it in one hand. But yeah, this way you can see you have way better airflow for the basket. Especially when I see people using like 3-4 layers of 18mm rings and then the spacer is like, you know, as deep as the whole driver. They create a tunnel for it and that's, yeah, not the best option, that's for sure. So yeah, these just get a coat of paint and then they are ready to go in. And as usual, little tricks and tips and why we spend so much more time. This car should be gone by now, probably, if we were not faffing with things like this. You know, little plastic. There's not even hole through it. There's not even speaker behind it. That's where the factory mid-range would be, by the way. But yeah, I just don't want any rattles. And then all these plastic bits and the clips sit against hard plastic. So those can come alive and buzz and all that crap. So we did the same on the mid-base grille. All the plastics were covered with this 3M tape, cloth tape, and then yeah, that's how we try to get rid of all the buzzes. There you go, Nick. Nick is doing the deadening.
Yeah,
it's lovely, huh?
Last one, last door.
Last one. Yeah, we are on to the second day now. All the wires are pulled in from the front. They fitted reeve nuts in the floor because there's cavity underneath it. That's where we can bolt down the board for the amplifier and the crossovers underneath the spare wheel. That he's working on now. Nice little crossovers and the M6. So yeah, there's plenty to do. Until Eddie takes the factory sub out, then we can take a bit of footage of it. And there you go, 10-inch subwoofer on the parcel shop from Audi. It's not bad. So that's where we are going to let our sub breathe through. And you could do so much more to it. If you had the time, if you spent more time with it, you could do a way better job. You wouldn't have to have a 12-inch hanging too far down. You could customize that, cut it out, push the sub further up, because between the shelf and then this line, there's literally this gap underneath the parcel shelf. Or if you modify the top of the parcel shelf, you could even have the magnet hanging up, or well, facing up. That way you wouldn't lose anything from the boot at all. So yeah, this car could be pretty good. You can't see through, the glass is dirty as well. But yeah, you could do crazy things in here. Possibly even 215s would fit on the shelf, and you wouldn't lose much space from the trunk. So good stuff. Nick, yo.
Yo.
Sweating, always sweating.
Oh, yeah. Wearing this roller out, I tell you.
At least the weather is better now. But we are deadening the tailgate as well, because that's gonna get some beating from the sub. And then we already have the amp in there, board in place, but it's not bolted down yet. Crossovers there. It's moving forward. There you go, everyone appreciates factory speakers. So this was the 8-inch up front that we used to copy the mounting rings for the 6.5s. Yeah, huge neo magnet, right? But you know, it's 8-inch driver, so more corner, it's more sensitive. same way at the back, 10-inch driver. Look at that. It was producing pretty great output and low end, to be fair, for a factory system. But what I was quite surprised by that when we bought it out, I was even asking Eddie if there was any gasket or anything around the edge, because this is what meets the steel on the shelf. It's just put on, nothing. Plastic against steel. Nice. But this was at least sealed to the trim panel on the parcel shelf, and that's how it was breathing into the cabin. Well, now we upgrade this a little bit. So this is a bit of a sacrifice that we made, but this tweeter would have ended up in the bin anyway. So instead of chucking everything away, actually we were lucky that this Steg tweeter with a bit of Dremel work literally slides into the factory mounting. Yes, the tweeter had to be butchered and cut out, but this way it's pretty simple to install it, and it goes in quite quick. Never-ending deadening. Nick, you don't have to go to the gym, right?
No, I might have to go to the chiropractor though.
So, subwoofer installation. It's gonna be that simple. A board is gonna go up, bolted through the top with big washers, pieces of wood. We could even have another buffle on the top, but that doesn't give strength. If we wanted a stronger buffle, we would have to double up the buffle from the bottom, but then we lose space in the boot. We decrease the height from the floor, and we don't want to do that. And this is not supposed to be, you know, a mega basic car. It's going to play way better than the factory driver. We have, we can't even compare the two drivers, that JLT 12W3 or the factory driver. But now we clamp that plate up. So where I could drill through, where I had space, like, is it a hole? Like there, and then over there. And then where I couldn't get there because of the rear windscreen with the drill, I just used the pencil and I marked the MDF at many points. I think we will have like 12 points to bolt it up and clamp it from the top. Yeah, you will see the buffle will be covered in closed cell foam, so it will be isolated from the steel, and we will deaden the whole shelf. And yes, it's not lined up with the hole perfectly, which is intentional, because I wanted to push the sub further out to the side. This way we don't lose that much space from the boot, you will see. Because if it was lining up, then the sub would be more towards the middle, and then it's just not practical for daily use. And for functionality, it will work just as fine, because that opening is plenty for the cone area of the driver, and it will breathe through the factory hole absolutely fine. So, all right, next. Now we are at the stage to turn the system on and test and put the rear seats, side trims back in, and the parcel shelf. There you go. There's a big 12-inch looking through there. We will see how the car behaves. We noticed already that the roof is absolutely horrendous. We don't know what's happening with the roof, but it rattles as hell. So I suspect, yeah, we will have issue with that, but it wasn't part of the job. It's not predictable, and there's no budget for that. So the owner wants to sort that out in the future. If it's truly an issue, if it's not, then it's just fine. So yeah, you will see how much the sub now takes away from the space, but definitely less than a box that he didn't want. And now we were just looking at it. Actually, if we had more time, that sub could have faced upwards with the magnet through that hole, and then maybe we would have needed several rings for the sub to be mounted up, and it would have hung down probably to the level of the basket. But it's still gonna be more practical than a boxy. So we did deadening, not crazy, but sufficient amount, because that area in the boot is, yeah, not great without that. The battery mounting is not the best in this car. It rattles quite a lot, but there's not much we can do with that. If it was my car, I would possibly change this battery and relocate it with a smaller one somehow, because it takes up a lot of space, useful space. And then now that's the final solution. So we have 2 bolt points, one there, and is the other bolt point underneath the amplifier ready? Yeah.
Yes.
It is, yeah, somewhere there. And then the amplifier is also mounted with machine bolts into inserts, crossovers the same way into inserts. Nice and simple. No braiding on the cables, no competition level madness, but it's tidy, it's all cable tied. We have extra cables running also, as we mentioned earlier, for future upgrade, running fully 3-way up front, so that's all prepared. And in that case, this amplifier will need another 4-channel amp somehow, somewhere in here, and then the 10 channels of the DSP can be utilized. So from underneath, you can see that baffle bolted up, bolted through with big washers, and we also added an LED strip because the original light is above it now. So that white LED strip is gonna sort out the light in the boot. And then from this side, that's where the sub is. Here we go. So there's plenty of opening for that to breathe through, for sure. We added deadening to the parcel shelf from this side as well, but also the baffle was deadened, and we have a pretty thick foam on the top of the baffle, so it's squashed against the steel with the foam, so it's isolated at the same time. But yeah, you can see many bolts from here everywhere holding the baffle and making the whole shelf more rigid as well. The factory sub signal was coming here, so that's where we tapped in, and we are using that to the input of the DSP, so all the features of the head unit will be retained, the fader, sub level, whatnot. We will show it when it's running. And then we have another cable coming up now from the amp, which is not tied up yet, because once the side panels are in, then we will feed it back, possibly cable tied up somewhere to make it safe. And that's pretty much it, other than I can show that as well. We are doing a bit of treatment to the parcel shelf. We have foam all around it, and it's just cutting out little bits where we have, yeah, we just used normal absorber foam with spray on this one, because we have a lot of this foam. So this way this will be nice and soft, not touching anything. Oh yeah, we have to put cloth tape on all these plastics, just like on the grills on the doors. That's pretty much it. There's only one single bolting this parcel shelf in place, and the factory sub was also supporting it. Yeah, but now that's gone. So almost there. And there you go. That's a beautiful moment when you expect something great and it's the opposite. We did everything we could, but we have no idea what's happening, whether it's just this car or all of the A6s, but something is terribly rattling inside of this box section. Like if you had coins inside. Eddie tries to push something through to see if anything is mobile in there and moving. But yeah, our baffle is not rattling, that's for sure. And all our bolts are tightened up, they don't have any issue, but look, and it's baby power. That sub is not even moving from like 5 watts. Oh.
Anything there. Sounds like clips.
Yeah, but how would you have anything going in there unless they put this car together on the production line and they have a lot of crap inside there just for fun, you know? Let them rattle, let the owner go mad if they have buzzes. With the factory sub, it wasn't an issue.
Yeah, it sounds like loose
bits inside. Because that's where you have the holes for the parcel shaft to go in. Who knows what it is. Not to mention that the roof is also terrible. There are some gadgets or something above it here, but the clips are not put back properly because someone fitted reverse camera, and who knows what they did above it. But listen to it. I'm not even hitting it hard, just that's rattling. All that back section is rattling. It's unbearable, honestly. We spent so much time with it. Decent subwoofer, and then it's just awful. I think I have to build a box, no matter what. Decided I didn't want a box, but this car needs a box. We won't have this much rattle if we have a box and it pumps the bass into the cabin somehow. But yeah, if you take the sub out, the bass is gonna still get through from the boot into the cabin. But this is just, there you go. That is trying to push something through. A long flexible rod. Yeah, I can't hear anything.
No.
Unless it's just spot welded and it's
Metal on metal.
the metal on metal flapping, even from this little power. This is shit. Yeah, great. All right, so this is a solution. We showed the problem to the owner. He had to make a decision. To be fair, I had already started making the box before he answered, because we knew it. That's just not doable. So within what, 1.5 hours, we put a simple box together. Nothing crazy. We'll put a bit of stuffing in it, although we don't need much because it's 34.5 litre, which in cubic foot is more than 1.2 cubic foot for this 12, which is absolutely fine. So now we just have to quickly carpet it. We put a XT60 connector on it for quick and easy connection, and then we will see if the car still wants to fall apart. Here we go. This is the finishing for this video. No, you can't be seen, don't worry. The owner is already out, he's having his fag. We went through everything. Yes, and we had to build a box, right?
Yeah.
You're positive you can fix it. I'm really positive that you cannot. That rattle is just out of this world. The good thing is, at least with this box, we don't have much rattle, other than the roof coming alive a bit, plus the front center console up where you have the lights. They can rattle a bit, but that's normal. The more bass you add to your car, the more rattles you will have. And for that, it's perfect to have a look at the video. I'm gonna put that 7 Series BMW in the description of this video, so people can go to the description, they can click on that, titled something like, you know, how much bass a car can have. In that 7 Series, guys, you will see that yeah, even a high profile car wasn't necessarily built for that level of bass, and they just want to fall apart. So everyone just has to be realistic about how much pressure, bass pressure, you can put into a car without crazy amount of work to tame all those rattles. And in some cars, like in this one, as I showed earlier, we don't even know what's happening there, honestly. It feels like when they were putting this car together, someone just threw a lot of change in there, in that box section, like Friday afternoon. Fuck it. Let it go out. Let them pull their hair out.
They do that.
You know, I hear about so many cars where they have weird rattles on the dash and whatnot, and they can't do anything with it. They sell the cars because it drives them mad. So who knows? Sometimes it can be that too. We don't know. Or it's the welding, spot welding along, and sheet metal don't hold together. I don't know. Once it's painted and finished, nobody can tell. And the car manufacturer don't expect you to put big subwoofers in it, right? It's not meant to be for that. It's our own luxury to build good sounding systems. But yeah, this is the simplest package we could do. And yes, I guess I should play music again that I won't have time for, and it will sound nice, as you also say. All my videos sound nice on YouTube, so what's the point? They all sound nice. But in person, yes, it's a huge improvement over the factory. It still does great focusing, even with passive. It was time aligned from left to right. it was EQ'd, sub was time aligned and put in phase with the front end. Yeah, it's a different type of system now.
The difference is day and night.
Yeah. And of course it can be better, anything can be better, but for this amount of work and an effort put into it, I think this is a great result. It's just, we have a bit of a sour taste in our mouth,
Yeah.
finding this issue with this Rattle in this boot. I still don't know what it is. Maybe some people watch it and they may say, Pete, we had exactly the same in our Audi A6, you know, we never know. We never know, or maybe in another car as well. Cool, so I just thought to finish it here, guys, just to show you simply a setup and seeing a bit more work that goes behind the scene. And we're gonna leave it here. Hopefully you liked it. Feel free to share it, subscribe to the channel, and I'll bring the next one very soon. Take care.